at same level with men in all sphere of life. It could be political, social, or any other aspect of life. It seeks to lift up women to the level of men. Thank you, sir.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah. Is it Agnes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's hear you.
So, so feminism is the advocacy for women rights on the basis of equality. Thank you, sir.
Mm, thank you. Is that all? Can we go on? All right. Now, the definitions you have given seek to suggest that at a point in time, women have been marginalized. Women have been deprived of certain rights. Women have been under-considered in some context, and therefore there's a need to create that opportunity. All right. Our discussion will point certain things to us. But then I hold the strongest view. I hold the strongest view that it depends on the context. It depends on the cultural background, the cultural context. In the case of African context, it is very difficult to conclude that women were marginalized or women were pushed to the background. I mean, it's debatable though. But if you go into the real culture of our people, you realize that the African woman, the African woman occupied a very important position in the social ladder, except instances where men try to be mischievous in depriving women of. Of course, in some contexts, women have also been mischievous in trying to deprive men of what they stand for. So this idea of this assumption of men having deprived women of, or society having deprived men of women of certain things, and therefore there's a need to look back at the situation and correct the error and then put women at the right places, stands to be debated, right? So can I ask a question? Can we discuss social issues that in a way, open up the discussion that women are deprived? Are there things that are done by men against women that would think lead to or result in deprivation to women?
Hello.
All right. Let's listen to Mark.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I think women have been considered as people who are not supposed to occupy certain positions. For instance, leadership positions, or in some instances, some political heads. So I think with that regard, women have been relegated to the background. Thank you.
I see. Nat?
Thank you, sir. So, per your question in relation to the whole issue of feminism, like you rightly said, in Africa, society had balanced roles or gender roles in such a way that there was that stability. But then when you look at the situation that persisted or prevailed in Europe, and especially in line with the course we are discussing, or in line with literature or literary works, then you would see that women had been marginalized. I remember for previous courses that we did, there was one that we studied what existed even during the time of Aristotle, where characters in a play had to be all males or at worst boys, so that where a role a woman needed to be a character in the play, that role was taken up or mimicked by either men or boys. Then you also look at the situation where many of the writers then, were either males who wrote, for the society, and as well as they wrote on behalf of women. And if you look at the social class that existed in Europe, or the Western countries.
Are you lecturing us, or you are just giving a contribution?
I'm giving a contribution, sir.
Then
Yes.
let it be a
Yes.
contribution.
So based on that, I would say that in Africa, we don't have a challenge, but then the challenge has to do with what prevailed in Europe, as that they saw as a social, what do you call it? They saw as women being marginalized, and therefore this whole concept of feminism came up. Thank you.
So, Kofi.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Another social area that I think women have been marginalized is the area of inheritance and widowhood rights. This occurs mostly in many cultures in Africa. Thank you.
All right. So if we take widowhood rights, if we take in Ghana, if we take this issue of witchcraft, this issue of female genital mutilation, Kofi, you are a Botarian from Bota region by the name, I guess. So if you
Yes,
talk
you're
of
right.
this issue, you talk of this issue of trococy and so on. Who were the perpetrators of these crimes to the victims?
Yeah, Prof, thank you for the question. Mostly, it's the men who are in charge of
Are you
the
sure?
deed.
Are you sure it is the men or the women who perpetrate these crimes? A good example is the widowhood rights, and then the female genital mutilation.
No,
Who does it?
what you mentioned, the trokoshi you mentioned is what I was speaking about before. But
Okay.
when you relate or we talk about the female genital mutilation, the witchcraft and others, mostly they are things that are initiated by the women themselves. You hardly find a man alleging a woman being a witch or forcing female genital mutilation on another female, on a man, on a female. It's
What about
mostly the
trococy?
women. Yeah, the trokoshi, that was what I was saying first, that it is the men in charge of the deities where such practices occur. It is the men in charge of the deities that enforce the practice, the trokosi, because that one is a spiritual engagement where the one in charge will have to tell what the deity demands from the family, and they will have to tell the family that the deity calls for this female and that female to pacify the gods of the wrong that the family or member of the family has committed. Thank you,
All right.
Prof.
So in all these, there's something that we are pointing at, and that has to do with the fact that we may not appoint or we may not point accusing figures to one of the genders, but there's something that the two can be at fault. The two can be at fault, right? So if we should look on our slides, we'll see that the term feminism comprises a number of focus. And that's to say foci. So it is a social, it is a political, It is a cultural movement. Again, it can be a theory. Again, it can be a moral philosophy, which are concerned with gender inequities and equal rights. Now, the basic underlying factor of feminism is the concern for gender equality and gender equal rights, kind of. Equality is seeing the two as equal, rights as sharing equally, and our readings soon will point to that. I do remember one of you mentioning that one major area of gender inequality is the inheritance systems and so on. And I know in our homes, some of the wives here, when you cook and you are sharing food, you want to give the choicest or the choicest meat to the man, and then the woman and the children will eat without fish, without meat, and then they think they are treating the man fairly. No, you are killing the man rather. If you give your husband the meat and the fish, other things, you are killing him. You want him to be fatty so he can die early. So men, don't get your wife to give you the fattest meat and fish. It is rather meant for the children. It's rather meant for the children. Good. So it has varying dimensions, politically, socially, and culturally. And we're also saying that we're also saying that hmm, we're also saying that we can look at feminism from several perspectives. From several perspectives. One, we can look at feminism as a movement, as a movement, and as a movement, we know what movements do. Movements come with force, with the intention of correcting something. They come with force with the intention of correcting something. And as a movement, it started in the West. It started in the West. When I talk of West, I'm referring to the England, Americas, and the rest as the West. It refers to series of social and political campaigns for reforms on women's issues created by the inequality between men and the women. That's what we try to do. Not long ago, we had the Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matters. We had this boy who was also killed in the US, so life matters. These are all movements. So feminism emerged as a movement from the West in an attempt to force social and political reforms, so that men and women can be treated equally. Another view is also this, that feminism is seen as an ideology, as an ideology. As an ideology, its focus is to try and understand gender inequalities and focus on power relation between the two. So if I conduct a study that attempts to show, that attempts to look at the inequality between the two genders, how many genders do we have now? How many genders do we have now?
For us in Africa or Ghana here, I would say we have two, a male and female gender. Thank you.
Oh, good evening. Good evening, sir. Please, a minute. Yeah, hello, let's go on, please. Yeah, somebody was asking whether in Ghana or other parts of the world. Hello.
No, Prof, I was saying that here in Ghana we have two, a male and a female gender. That's what I said actually.
I see, okay. But in other parts of the world, there are more than two, right?
Yes, there may be.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there are. Yeah,
So,
there are.
so in such places, when you write your name, you add he or she or he, she. You add and you indicate what you are. You don't just assume that people know that you're a man or people know that you're a woman. No, you don't do that. So it refers to series of social and political campaigns for reforms on women's issues created by the inequality between men and women. And I'm wondering, you see, that's why we may argue in a certain direction. So today that other places are creating the binary, creating the third gender. What would be feminism? What would be feminism? Well, those who stand between the two, where would they belong? Because we know that there are some who think they are both men and women, or there are some who have also changed their genders and so on. Where would they belong? Yeah, these are all issues. So in this sense, then feminism being a movement becomes strong. And if it's a movement, it means that at a point it loses its value. But then as an ideology, where we try to understand gender inequalities, then that's when we can open it up and study all of them. We can study the males, we can study the females, and if there is a midway, we study that one too. So as ideology, it focuses on power relations between the sexes, not just identity as a woman, not just identity as a man, but also the power relations in the sense of who is powerful, who is strong. When it comes to dealing with things, where do we focus, and so on. So we have seen feminism, one, as a movement, two, as an ideology. Is that right? Good. So let's look at feminism in other contexts. Forgive me, oh, my screen is not sharing as I wanted to. All right. I don't know what to do. So maybe I have to deprive you of sharing and then use it as I want to. Good. I'll be with you soon, please. Yeah. So I've taken it. It will give it to you later. Right. So the third one is seeing feminism as a theory. As a theory. So one, it is a movement. Two, it is an ideology. Three, as a theory. And as a theory, we are saying that feminism is a female sex and female embodied social subject whose constitution is to correct conflictual histories of women, as well as the masculinity, historical, social, and the literary images of women as the other. So there's that conflictual picture we see of women. So in this case, we are studying female sex and female embodied social subjects, and then we are looking at them from historical perspectives. We want to see how these have been looked at by men. The moment you talk of feminism as a theory, then it becomes clear that it is men against women, men against women. So from the masculinist historical perspective, into the social and literary images of women as the other, just as in post-colonial or in other studies, we will see others looking at others as other. For example, the Europeans will look at Africans as other. In post-colonial studies, the colonizer will look at the colonized as the other, and so on. So in feminism, it is where men see women as the other. The moment the other comes in, it means the image is reduced. You are not as important as the one looking at you. That in that studies, in that context, we're looking at this as a theory, and we'll look at those characteristics that will help us identify women as the other, and so on. So the theory seeks to expose patriarchal premises and resulting prejudices in literary texts. If you pick a book to read, and in reading the book, realize that the narrator is speaking a certain way that seeks to project the male, the masculine, more favorably than the woman, then that is a theory we need to look at. That's a theory we need to look at. And it also strives to change the social division of the sexes by striving to promote a discovery and revaluation of literature by women, as well as evaluate the social, cultural, and psychological context of literature and criticism. I'll be running. Forgive me. I'll come back. Tell me, in which book or in the studies of feminism, which authors books, that's male and female, becomes very easy for discussion as a feminist text? In discussing feminist ideas, which authors' books come handy for a discussion as a feminist text? Is it that of men or that of women? Yeah, hello?
That is women.
That of women.
Yeah, I share the same view with her.
All right. All right. Now, this is because most women think that when male writers write, they do not adequately represent the interests of the woman. So when the women writer decide to write, then they are magnifying the social inequalities that men seem to promote. So pick it from Amata Edu, pick it from Officer Sutherland, pick it from Amada Akon, pick it from Chimamanda, pick it from Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre, that is Jane Eyre. Pick it from the Charlotte Brontes and the rest. They are all trying to push. The moment the woman writes, the idea is that men have not been fair to us and therefore want to. It is in very few instances that a woman writer will write and the interest will not be to promote the sex agenda or the female agenda. So it says that the theory seeks to expose patriarchal premises and resulting prejudices in literary texts and strives to change the social divisions of the sexes, when we talk of men and women, by striving to promote one, a discovery and re-evaluation of literature by women, as well as evaluate the social, cultural, psychological context of literature and criticism. So when going to the books, we'll try to study the roles of women, the roles of men. We'll try to evaluate the roles of men, the roles of women. We'll try to examine the psychology of men and women, and then we can have our conclusions to support what we say. There's a book titled Literary Theory Today by a lady called Lois Tyson. Lois is Lois. Lois. Tyson is Tyson. Tyson. If you get that book, it's online. If you get that book to read, you have this definition or this explanation of feminism as a theory beautifully captured. Now, if you go back to the histories of feminism, we can talk of a number of stages that feminism as a concept, feminism as a theory, feminism as a movement, feminism as an ideology has undergone. So we call them waves. So we will say that the first wave of feminism officially was recognized in the 1920s. This is not to say that prior to the 1920s, the desire to have the woman stand out equal among other genders or among men, they do not exist. It existed. But then as a concept of study, as an ideology, as a theory, it emerged in the 1920s as the first wave of feminism. Good. Now, as a first wave of feminism, there's something so unique about feminism as a first wave. And thus idea of it's been a first wave is unique to it. And we'll identify some of them. One, the first wave feminism mainly concerned itself with women's material disadvantages compared to men. Women's material disadvantages compared to men. For example, there was a point in time in the life of women when women could not inherit properties of their parents. If you're a woman, you cannot inherit any property. Your property may be given to your brother, so that when you marry, then your husband will come in and inherit that property. There's a book titled Jane Eyre. Has anyone read it? Has anyone seen it? Anyone here who has read Jane Eyre? No one. All right. It is an eponymous text. The writer's name is the title of the book. In that book, for instance, we have a character called Jane Eyre. Now, this character had an uncle who willed all his property to Jane. Now, when Jane grew and got to know of this property and wanted to inherit it, his nephews and the rest said, no, you cannot inherit it. So, if you want to have it, then a gentleman offered to marry her so that he could inherit the property on behalf of Jane. That gentleman is called Rivers in the book. But Jane being, and I described Jane as one of the first proponents or one of the first women to really rise up and fight against anything that worked against women. That is in the 17th century that way. 17th, 18th century that way. Right. So women were disadvantaged in material possession. It also, the first wave also sought to fight against social, political, and economic disadvantages. So what they tried to do was to look for social, political, and economic reforms. Social, political, and economic reforms that will now benefit women. That will now benefit women. So this idea of women cannot vote, women cannot do this, women cannot do that, women cannot have this money, and so on. That was identified with first wave. Now, when we look at all these, then we are saying that the women who emerged, who stood up and tried to fight against feminism were mainly English people. They were mainly English people. So we have a woman called Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf. We'll read one of her papers very soon. Then we have Olivia Brown. Olivia Brown. We also have a woman called Mary Wollstonecraft, and then Elizabeth Anton. There are several others, but we can just keep to these. Now, these women spoke against gender stereotypes. Gender stereotypes. I don't know what do you mean gender stereotype. Can anyone help us? I want to talk of something being a stereotype. What does it mean? Hello. Yeah. Gender stereotype. Let's hear you, Rejoice.
Prof, please, a stereotype is maybe a label that has been placed on something. So gender stereotypes means that tags or labels that they put on women.
I see. Safako.
Gender stereotype is favoring one particular gender against the other. So being biased and giving men some priorities against women.
I see. So, for example, I did mention, and I know the wives here, this might not have started with you. It might have been something from the past that when you cook, the first person you should serve is your husband. So much that even if your father visits you and you cook, your husband must eat before your father, which is very nonsense. When you cook and you are serving, give the best of the meal to the husband. If the children don't eat, that's fine. If the wife doesn't eat, that's fine. These are all stereotypes that we have been forced to go with. And I must say that any man who goes by that is not a man enough. That when you come home, the food, the best part of the food should be given to you, so that even if your children are not eating, you're okay with it. You sit down and eat everything. Your children go to sleep without food. The wife go to sleep without food. You are not a man enough. That have been stereotypes. So we need to change it. So stereotype, gender stereotype means the labeling we have put on the woman, the picture we have created of the woman, the assumptions we have on the woman, the prejudices that we have of the woman, that is how the woman is. That is stereotypes. Failure to regard the woman as an individual with her own rights and the need for women to gain access to formal education. So the first wave proponents, that's what they try to do. They try to fight against gender stereotypes. They try to fight against the fact that women are not regarded as individuals with their own rights. And they try to fight against the fact that women are not allowed to go to school. In fact, most of these women we are talking about per history did not have formal education, but they were homeschooled. They were homeschooled. So in the case of Virginia Woolf, for instance, whilst her brothers were attending public schools, she was home and she was taught by her mother. And at a point in time, teachers were brought in to teach her. That was the situation. So one of the key strands within this movement is what you call the liberal feminists. Out of the first wave came the liberal feminists. As the name implies, they're liberal because they were managing the situations in a more liberal way. They manage the situations in a more liberal way. I also want to go to school, let me go. I also want to have my inheritance, let me have it. I also want to be treated as such, let me be treated as such. I also want to be liberal. They were not so much radical, they were not so much antagonistic. They were not so much radical, they were not so much antagonistic. Good. Then we came to the second wave of feminism. Oh, before I go to second wave feminism, let me ask. Would you then describe the first wave of feminism as a movement, as ideology, or as a theory? How would you describe the first wave of feminism? Yeah, Savako.
As a movement, sir.
It is a movement. I see. I see. Yeah, Kofi.
So I also think it's a movement.
You also think it's a movement.
Yes, sir.
Now let's go to the second wave, and then we'll draw conclusions. McLean, unless you have something else to say, okay, let's go on. Now, the second wave of feminism focused on the politics of reproduction, women's experience, sexual difference, and sexuality, both as a form of oppression and something to celebrate. So, what do you think? What do you think this one will lead to? Who are the people that are likely to be in this category? They focus on politics of reproduction, politics of women's experience, politics of sexual difference, and sexuality, both as a form of oppression and something to celebrate. So some of the major advocates of this wave include Betty Friedan, Andrea Rich, we shall read Andrea Rich very soon, Mary Daly, and Charlotte Bunch. Some of the key strands within this movement is called, or is the radical feminism, lesbian feminism, social or Marxist feminism. So you get a point. From the very first point, the very first description of them, it is obvious that these are the people who want to fight against anything penal. Penal means penis. And they had the view that penis is a weapon of women's suppression. Therefore, anything to do with the penis must be thrown away, must be rejected, must be pushed away. And that's why we have them coming in with lesbian feminism. Lesbian feminism. Is there any lesbian on this platform who will share with us what lesbians stand for? Any lesbian? Please don't feel shy. Tell us. We have not passed the law in Ghana yet, so you are free to share with us. All right. But then in the university here, it's a common thing. It's a common thing. You mentioned these things and girls can openly own up. And I look at their faces and I ask myself, what is it that they get from women that they can't get from men? That they put aside the strong men and they go for women. I don't know. Can you tell us what is that women do that men cannot do to women? Our ladies, we are listening to you. They don't want to speak. Oh. What they know. We are learning. Nobody will tell you that you are lesbian. So you share with us. Yeah, let's hear you. Mr. Nim.
He said, I cannot be one. Oh.
I'll not say you are one. I think I saw it.
I don't know what woman can give me that, Emma. I get all I need from my husband. Hey, I have something better. How can I go for a woman?
I see. I see. So we shall read the woman called Andia Rich, and then we will understand some of the things. So this is a group of people. This is a group of people who do not want to have anything to do with men, or sexually don't want to come near men because they think anything penis is evil. Anything penis is evil, right? So it is easy to identify them, and they are described as radicals in nature. They are radicals because they are pushing away the norm, and they are bringing in their own. They are pushing away the norm, and they are bringing in their own. Good. I don't know if I can ask the question of what do you make of gays? Gays, what would they be? Would they be the second wave of feminists or what? Or they are also a kind of movement somewhere? Where would they be? The men. Let's hear you.
Prof, I didn't hear the statement carefully or clearly. Sorry.
I said, what would be the place of gay? Gay. Gay. Those who are gay. Would it be second wave of feminism, or what would they belong? Are they feminists or what? Did you hear it now?
Yeah, yes, Prof, I heard it now.
Okay. Joyce, to you, the penis will not be evil, but for them it is. They want to run away from it. So you read the background of the women I've mentioned. For example, you read the background of Andian Rich, and you understand some of these things. We'll get to them very soon. So we don't know where the gay are, the gays. We don't know where they belong, whether they belong to the second wave of feminism or they also have their own path to tread. So then the third wave of feminism, they focus on three major issues. Third wave feminism focus on three major issues: that the politics of universalism, parent controls and misrepresentation, and homogeneity of feminism. Let me take it again. The third wave of feminism, they focus on three major things. One, the politics of universalism. By politics of universalism, they are looking at those who think that all women are treated the same way. All women are treated the same way. And therefore, the suffering of women are the same the world over. Some people think that is not true. For example, let me share my story with you. I was in the US with a group of scholars. I went to a hotel in Los Angeles. That hotel happened to be where most of the movies that we watch from Los Angeles are staged. So I felt I should buy something memorial for my family. So I saw a dress that was very beautiful and expensive. So I said, okay, I'll buy this dress for my wife. I bought the dress, and my colleagues from Asia got very angry. The women, they got very angry at me. And I asked why they were angry. They told me that I had bought the dress because I wanted to use the dress to subdue my woman. I didn't understand them. So upon further reading, I realized that for them, men use economic power to subdue them. So if a man goes out and he buys something for you, you become a subject to him because he has taken care of you. So for them, men are not supposed to buy anything for women. The woman must buy. If the woman is a woman of her caliber, then she should be able to buy things for herself. They should not take anything from the man. And the question I asked them was whether the men take care of their homes. Do they take chop money from their husbands? Do they take housekeeping whatever from the husbands? Do husband rent apartment and they keep them in? They said yes. And I said, so what is the sense? If you take chop money and other things, and don't want the man to buy anything for you, then where are you? But then in Africa, in Ghana, it is a joy for a man to say, oh, my wife, take this. It is a pleasure for a boyfriend to say, oh, my girlfriend, I went out and I bought this thing for you. It has no business, no connection with a man subduing the woman. That's the picture I have. Am I right or am wrong? You can share with me. Am I right or wrong?
Perfectly right, Prof.
You are right, sir.
Yeah,
Correct.
comfort, let's hear you.
Yes, Prof, you are right. Even in Ghana, no matter how the man takes care of the house, if he hardly buys gifts for his wife, the woman will begin to think that he's not even romantic. So we see gift giving as even romantic. So you are right, Prof.
So the point I'm trying to make is that this politics of universalism, universal treatment of feminism is wrong. That's how we see feminist issues in Ghana or in Africa may be different from how feminism is seen in Europe, in Asia, and in other places. So it is wrong to lump all of them together in one basket and say that yes, this is feminism. So the third wave tries to look at this issue of universal politics of feminism. And the paper we shall read in connection to this one is titled Some Notes on African Feminism by Cowboy Davis. Some Notes on African Feminism. 2, they are also looking at current controls. Controls as in what? How the woman is controlled. And I think one good tool has to do with the family planning controls that most women are on. Family planning controls that most women are on, and other forms of controls other forms of controls that come the way of women. And then also talking of the misconception that all women are the same, homogeneity of feminism. All women are the same, and therefore issues about them are the same. I don't know. Is it true that women are not the same? Is it true? Women, please share with us. Are you all the same or are you different? Yeah. Comfort.
Prof, please, we are all not the same. We are different. With regards
Share
to
with
our temperaments, we are different.
regard to
Our temperaments.
Also, our upbringing.
Yeah. If I've not called you, don't speak, please. Raise your hand, I will call you. I beg you. Yeah. So temperament, what else? Now, husbands, share with us. What differences do you see of your woman? Raise your hand, we'll call you and we'll all listen to you. If we decide that everybody at talk and talk, we are making a class disorganized, please. All right. Now you will realize that per one's educational level, per one's level of exposure, per one's level of experience in life, per one's perspective of training, per where one comes from, and all other things put together, there's no way that all women can be put together as one. So there can be this homogeneity of women, so that we put all feminism together and say that all feminism will be treated in this way or that way. So the third wave feminism seeks to overcome the question of difference, seeks to overcome the question of difference, in that it wants to acknowledge the fact that there are differences. There are differences in approach, there are differences in perspectives, there are differences in experiences, there are differences in the thing called feminism, right? So the major proponents or advocates of this third wave would include Bell Hooks, Julia Kristeva, Patricia Hare Collins, Beatrice Pavic, and we'll talk of Cowboy Davis. And so Cowboy Davis is an African. We'll talk about that. We can even mention Amata Edu as well. Yes, these are some of the proponents of feminism. Right. Now let's move into the essays as I've mentioned. Let's move to the essays as I've mentioned. Now, the first wave of feminism had to do with the issue of inheritance, the issue of marginalization, the issue of deprivation, the issue of not being treated equal with men, and so on. And therefore, the women involved, or the proponents of this kind of movements, wanted equality, kind of. So the essay we need to read is titled "A Room of One's Own." A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. Right. It's online. If you go online, you are likely to see a book titled "A Room of One's Own." In that book, there's an essay titled "A Room of One's Own." Read that essay. You cannot read, you can read the whole book, but for this course, I want you to focus on just that essay in the book titled "A Room of One's Own." Is that right with you? Hello, is that right with you?
Yes, Prof.
Yes,
Yeah.
Prof. The essays are many, but we'll manage.
Whether there are many or not many, you read. So don't
Yes, Prof.
if you read, it's good for you. If you don't read, it's your own problem. Yeah. So I said
We
the
read,
book.
we shall read, and then we read the author of the book, please. I didn't hear it well.
I said there's a book titled "A Room of One's Own." That's a book. But then in that book, there's an article, there's a paper titled "A Room of One's Own." That's the essay I want you to read. The author of the book is Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is Virginia. Virginia. Wolf means, wolf is WOOLF. WOOLF. Virginia Woolf. Good. Has anyone seen this paper or read this paper? Has anyone seen this paper or read this paper? No one. Yesterday, I told you that if you have a platform, include me so that I can send you the course outline. It hasn't come. No problem. I'll mention the papers for you to read. If you read them, that's fine. Now, what comes to mind? What comes to mind when you hear a paper titled "A Room of One's Own"? A room of one's own. What comes to your mind? What does it mean? Yeah, Kofi.
So I think it's a call for independence or opportunity for oneself to explore his or her own world. Thank you.
Paper call.
Thank you, Prof. Please, I have the same view, but I also add that it's also an opportunity to have a quality education as a woman. Thank you.
All right. Any other? Yeah.
I think it raises, it may have something to do with independence, freedom, personal liberty or privacy or something like that.
Let's say something like that. Be authentic with what you after speaking, you mute yourself. Samuel, let's hear you.
Yeah, please. Me too. What I understand about that is that an opportunity for individuality. That is what I understand. Thank you very much.
All right. So I guess you were all within the context of understanding, the scope of understanding. So one, let me say that the title "A Room of One's Own" is a metaphor. The title is a metaphor. It's a metaphor that suggests that can each one of us be resourced enough to do his or her own thing? Can each one of us be given freedom to operate? Can each one of us be given what belongs to the one? Can each one of us be respected as an individual? So a room of one's own, as you have said, is a metaphor. But by extension, it creates that individuality. It creates an individual resourced, an individual treated fairly, treated decently, treated as a human being, so as to operate within his or her own strength. Good. So the essay establishes the role and conditions of women in society and how it is not possible to tell an objective story of a woman and fiction. So she gives us the background. She gives us the situation women find themselves in. And let me give a brief of that paper. In that paper, Virginia Woolf creates scenarios. She pretends to have been invited to a university that's made up of a university that she creates, a Christian university that she creates. She calls it Oxbridge from the university, Oxford University and Cambridge University. So she put it together and then she calls it Oxbridge. Now she goes to this university and she gives a talk. It's not a real university, but sometimes she has created. She gives a talk. In giving the talk, she encounters a situation where she realizes that the food served in the girls' school, boarding school, right, was far, far, far low in quality to what is served in boys' school, the men. And she think that was a deprivation, that was marginalization, that was not right. Then she said that she wants to go to the library of this university, that the male university. And she is told that she can only go to that library when she is accompanied by a man or a boy, or she's given a note by a man or a boy. If she's not given a note or not accompanied by a man or a boy, she cannot go there. Now, this resonates with the inheritance system that you can inherit only when you are with a man or in relation to a man. She also said that in this university that we are talking about, it wasn't possible for a woman to just walk anyhow on the compound. You can only be found on the compound moving up and down when you are with a man. If you're not without a man, you must be indoors. This also resonates with the fact that once upon a time, and I think even, until recently, girls are not supposed to be seen in the streets. Am I right? Is this still there? Is it still there that girls are not supposed to be seen, well-trained girls are not supposed to be seen walking anyhow in the street? Is this still an issue? Please tell me. You not tell me. Okay, let me teach. Yeah, Kofi.
Yeah, I think I would say yes, Prof. A well-trained girl should not be seen walking about anyhow in the street. But some of these well-trained girls are sometimes influenced, and so we see them among the uncultured one or those who are not from a better home or brought up in a proper home, and then they walk about in town. Yeah, so I will first say yes. If you're a well-trained girl, you should not be seen walking anyhow on the street. Thank you, Prof.
Jessica, let's hear you.
Thank you, Prof. Please, there is that mentality that when you are from a decent home, you shouldn't be seen all over the place. Yes. So when you are seen all over the place, then you are tagged as um a cheap girl or a girl who is everywhere, has no control, no correct upbringing. And so to curb that or to take away that perception, parents restrict their children from being all over the place. Maybe at social functions, you are seen in this wedding, the next day you are in this outdooring. Like, you shouldn't be all over the place. Yeah.
What, what,
Unless
what about the boys?
for the boys, they are boys.
You are
So
wrong.
boys go out to play football, they come back in the night, they go out. Even now, some homes don't permit night outing. But if you compare the ratio, boys are given opportunity to be out there than the girls. Yes.
I see. I see. Any other view on the boys? Because the point I want to make is that in proper homes, in proper it is not permitted. For example, in my home, you dare not just walk through the streets. You dare not just go out like going. No. Whether you're a boy or a girl, you go out when it's necessary. You go out when it is very necessary. So, Andrea Rich, Virginia Woolf, in talking about the fact that in this university, the woman can only walk around when she's in the company of a man, is an example of one of the tenets that we looked at under first wave of feminism. Wolf, a woman who writes fiction, creates a fictional woman who tells. So, from what I've said, she creates a fictional woman who tells how she came to have a view about women and then fiction. But her view is that, yes, let me tell you this one too. This one too is in the paper. You see, in the olden days, I guess when we started, somebody was saying it, is it a nut or so? And he was talking plenty. Some time ago, when a woman is seen too loud, she is considered as uncultured. So women were not even allowed to write. So in most cases, women who wrote in the name of their husbands or wrote with a man's name. It is called pen name or pseudonym. A good example is Mary Ann. Mary Ann, who wrote a book titled Silas Manor. Silas Manor. She could have put her name on it, but because society would not read a book from a woman, she had to change the name from Mary Ann and put there Elliot. Put there Elliot. So it's difficult for women to write. Very difficult for women to write. So she comes in as a woman who writes fiction and creates a fictional woman who tells how she came to have a view about women and fiction. The subject of women and fiction raises all sorts of prejudice and emotions. Like I've said, you go to a university where there are men and you cannot have the freedom. Even the food that you eat, that of men, better than that of women. You cannot have access to books at the library. You cannot walk around anyhow you want. And all these are reflections of the life that Virginia Woolf led. I've told you that one. Virginia Woolf came from a very rich family. The father was very rich and a real scholar. So the father had a lot of books. So whilst the brothers were going to school outside in public, Virginia Woolf was at home, made to read and then study at home. When the father died, Virginia Woolf was not given any inheritance. She wasn't. Virginia Woolf was not allowed to just move about. No, she was not allowed. When she wanted to marry, she didn't get a man of her choice. A man was imposed on her. But she felt that life and men had not been so good to her. So much that at a point in time, she became a bit psychologically challenged and then got herself drowned in a pool. Right. So this is the woman we're talking about. So the reason a woman needs a room of her own to make fiction is privacy, solitude, and necessary for writing and creation. This is one of the things that she thinks a woman should be allowed to do. That a woman must be allowed to also tell her own story. And if a woman must be allowed to tell her own story, then she must be given her own privacy. She must be given her own freedom. She must be given resources to enable her do the things she wants to do. She must be given. She should not be compelled into some boxes. According to Wolf, a woman must have money and a room of her own if she wants to write. And the writing here is a metaphor of all forms of expression, all forms of development, all forms of growth. Writing here is a metaphor of all forms of expression, all forms of development, all forms of growth, all forms of being oneself, expressing oneself. Whereas the money and the room The room will refer to privacy. The man refers to all kinds of resources that one needs to be able to function effectively in context. So Wolf also presents that centuries of prejudice and financial educational advantages have inhibited women's creativity. Years of deprivation have inhibited women's creativity. Her essay is constructed as a partly fictional narrative of the thinking that led her to adopt those theses of saying a room of one's own. So in a dramatic way, Wolf carefully presents the experiences available to men and women, as well as on more material differences in their lives. As I've mentioned to you, the kind of inheritance that the father left to the brothers, she didn't have. The kind of education they received, she didn't receive. The kind of exposure they had, she didn't have, and all that. All these come into the issues of deprivation that she is fighting. Don't forget the tenets of first wave of feminism. They all come into the picture. She identifies an unfair treatment for women after looking at the experiences available to men against those experiences available to women. She perused all the scholarship on women and realized that all were written by angry men. Like I said, she perused means that she read because she was at home, because she was from a rich home, and she had time and space. She was able to read and read and read and read and read and read, and realized that the books available to her that she read were all angry about women. They were all angry at women. So things that they said about women, they said them out of anger, and therefore did not reflect the woman's desire. So give the woman the opportunity to also write, to express themselves well. Now, the word angry is in quotation. The word angry is in quotation, and it could have all interpretations as either being really angry with women or angry because they are not looking at things very well, and all those permutations. Turning to history, Virginia Woolf found that so little data about everyday lives of women that she decided to reconstruct their existence imaginatively. So going back to history, as we said in the definitions, that so little was written about women. So she felt that it was her duty to go back and reconstruct the narratives about women, right? So she considers the achievements of the major women novelists or writers of the 19th century and reflects on the importance of tradition to an inspiring writer. Don't forget that we have mentioned tradition, right? We mentioned tradition in relation to T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot. Now, Virginia Woolf is also mentioning. So for her to be able to write as a woman, go and read works written by women, that you can be infested with the anger of women, so you can also write the way women are expected to write. She considered the achievements of major writers or novelists of the 19th century and reflect on the importance of tradition to an inspiring writer. Don't forget, I mentioned to you the woman called Jane Eyre. The woman called Jane Eyre, a 19th century writer. And to me, she happened to be one of the earliest writers on feminism, Woolf closes the essay with an exhortation to her audience of women to take up the tradition that has been so hardly bequeathed to them and to increase the endowment for their own daughters. Endowment for their own daughters. That she calls on women to take up the challenge of writing so they can write and write and write and write and write and open up the space of writing for their women, their children, their daughters, and give basis for them to also write. So she proposes that women can have voice to redefine their fate if they pick up the act of writing about their own experiences. So here women writing becomes the major tool of expression, the major tool of expression. Good. Can I pause here and ask if there are questions on this one? Jessica, your hand has been up since.
Sorry, it's been the one used earlier.
Any question? Any contribution? Any expression of view? Virginia Woolf, in the context of feminism, in the context of first wave feminism, and the things that she has put out there. Please read about Virginia Woolf. Just pick your phone, Google Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf. Things about her will come. Read it. Then look at the essay, A Room of One's Own. Read it. You'll be fine. Right? Good. Any question? If there are no questions, we can continue with Andrea Rich. Andrea Rich. Should I continue?
Yes, Prof.
All right. Now, Andrea Rich is so from what we have said so far, it appears that first wave feminists were mainly British people, English people. Second wave feminists were mainly Americans. So, Andrea Rich is known as a writer. She is a very good, strong writer. And she has written so many poems, so many books or stories about a woman. One major poem that she has written that excites us all so much is titled Aunt Jennifer's Tiger. Aunt Jennifer's Tiger. Aunt Jennifer's Tiger. Can someone look for it for us? Aunt Jennifer's Tiger. Has it been found? All right. You'll find it and then read it later. Good. Now, she is a feminist writer. The title of her paper is thus. Don't forget that Virginia Woolf ended her story, her paper, on the fact that women should write, right? So Andrea Rich comes in with the title as When We Dead Awaken. When We Dead Awaken. Writing as Ray Vision. When we dead means that when we women who are dead, when we are dead are awaking. When we are awaking, then writing becomes a revision, revising our lives. So the title. Now, and the Rich is a feminist writer who has written and published several books, including 6 collections of poems, of which the last is The Will to Change. So 2 poems. Read for me. anti-Jennifer's tiger, and the will to change. The will to change. The desire to change. To change what? Good. In her writings, such as When We Dead Awaken, writing as a red vision, she projects the freedom of women from what she described as men's terror. What she describes as men's terror. A bit about her. She lives or lived in New York and teaches at the City College, the City University of New York. During the 1972-73, she was the Fannie Hurst visiting professor of creative writing at Brandeis University. And you can imagine the kind of thing she'll be writing. We'll get there. Now, the essay goes back to that. This essay goes back to the 1950s, in a very difficult period for women and female writers, clearly dominated by men. At that time, women had a very, very traditional role. That is, a woman must either be a wife, must be a mother, and must be a muse for male engaged with domestic activities. What does this mean? That she must be a muse for male, and engaged with domestic activities. What does it mean? Muse means what? All right. Now, when we talk of muse, we are talking of anything that motivates or excites someone to do something in this context. So, to her, women were only treated as they were mothers, they were wives, they were girlfriends, they were whatever, for the benefits of men. They're supposed to be there to make men happy, for men to do what they want to do. So if a man wants to play football and play very well, the woman should be there to be clapping for. I remember when we were young and we were in school, whenever we play football, we were going to play a match. At the back of the pole, at the back of our poles, the girls in our school would stand there and be singing and clapping for the players. The boys should be sitting somewhere enjoying the football, but the ladies will be, that's the muse. That's the muse. Good. So that's how she saw women. So she was a wife, a mother, a muse, and was engaged with domestic activities. Rach can be considered as a pioneer because she was one of those women who managed to be a wife, a mother, and a writer successfully. We'll come to her. However, and the Rach herself struggled to find her identity and free her imagination and expression. In her essay, she's trying to gain her female voice and persuade other females to do so. Now, a little bit about Andrea Rich. Andrea Rich, as I've said about her, a good scholar, a lecturer at the university, a writer, doing everything. She was a mother, a wife, and so on. Then at a point in time, she's told herself that the marriage she was in was a hindrance to her development as a writer. Not just marriage, but the fact that she's married to a man was a hindrance to her development as a writer. So she sought for divorce from this man and got married to a woman at a time when her children had grown, when her children were no longer kids. So for me, the argument is, if when your children were young, you were able to write and your husband was with you and still could write, what meant that Now that your children are grown, you'll not be able to write. And therefore, what was the sense in she leaving her male husband and marrying her female husband? And this places her in the context of second wave and a radical feminist. Second wave and a radical feminist. Good. Her style in writing was formed by male poets. And in general, women writers adopted the masculine style in order to be accepted as writers. You cannot, tradition once again comes in. That if you want to write as a woman, of course, you're a woman, but you need to go by the standard set by men and then write as men would write, so you'll be accepted by them. So Rich tries to awaken consciousness of women that can we move away from the way men write and we are also copying? Can we move away from that? So she moves away from a male husband, moves away from the way men do things, even in the context of writing. She moves away from that. She insists that in order for women to find their own voice, they should look back in time with fresh eyes, look back in time past with fresh eyes, in order to be aware of the myth of women's role in society, a thing she describes as revision. So go back and look at how men have treated women in the past and try to see what really was in the women of the past that men overlooked, and then create women in the past and bring it to now. That's revisioning, recreating. And it takes us back to the man called T.S. Eliot's Tradition and Individual Talent. So you go back to look at them traditionally, and then you recreate the women of the past and make them stronger now. So if you look at some of the modern stories about women, you can say they go back to the past. They go back to the past, get women of substance in the past, and then they build stories about them. So the stories are packaged, and the women in the past are treated as not just a woman, but this time women of strong character. Women of strong character. We have those who sing. Is it Maria Makiba? Is that right? This South African writer, is it Makiba? Are you with me?
Yes, Prof, we are with
Yes,
you.
Prof, we are here.
Yes, please. Here we are with you.
That woman, the South African singer, how do you call it? Is it Makiba, Maria Makiba or something? So when
Yes, it's Marian.
So when Becca is singing her song, Tutu Bovi, is that right? You realize she mentions this Maria Makiba in that song. She mentions a lot of women that they have recreated. They mention a lot of women that they have recreated. That is what Andrea Rich is saying. That go back, look at those women, look at them with fresh eyes, in order to be aware of the myth of women's role in society, a thing he describes as revision. And then Rich strongly support the idea of revision and describe it as an act of survival. That if you don't revision yourself, if you don't really look at yourself as a woman, you will die. In fact, for me, it's not just being a woman, but even as a man, as a human being. If at a point in time, society is looking down upon you, making you feel unimportant and so on, your ability to really look at yourself and revisit yourself, re-energizes you to move on. That's the energy and the Rich is pushing in modern male-dominated society so that they can express their own ideas and feelings as females and not to be under the shade of men or even trapped by their dominance. Trapped by their dominance. And by dominance here is the pendulum. So if you look at yourself as a powerful woman, you can do that. The man, then not even his penis can draw you to him. Not even his penis. Sometimes we see some women and they are crying and crying and crying. Why? Because they are not married. But some of us laugh at them. I'm a man, but I laugh at such women. Why is that when you are married, when you are not married, you think you are wet, you don't value anything? No, it's not association with a man that will make you a human being. Your humanity is defined by your own being as a woman. You don't need to be attached to a man before you can define yourself. Similarly, a man doesn't need to attach to a woman before he can define himself. Marriage is good. Being with a man is good. Being with a woman is good. But it's not the ultimate definition of absolute humanity. No. So women who are not married on this platform, if your time comes, fine. If your time has not come, don't worry. If your time is past, don't worry. Live your life. That's a call from Andy Rich, and I think I support that call. I support that call. Good. We should not be trapped by male dominance, trapped by male dominance. No. The ladies, can you tell us what is independent? Is Charlotte saying something? Tessa? Can you tell us? You don't want to tell us. This class is not meant for small boys and girls. So it's meant for mature people. Yesterday, when I was saying my thing, somebody would say, bad, prof. Is it Evans? All right, Comfort, let's hear you.
Yes, Prof, I would like to say that there's no much in it, but then society has created the impression that as
Hey,
a woman,
hold
having
on.
a certain...
Are you married? Comfort, are you married?
Yes, sir.
Give
I
me
am.
husband's number. Let's call him.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah. All right, good one.
Yes, I am saying that there is no much in it. It doesn't actually make you what you have to be or what you are not. But society has made it such that up to a certain age, if you are not married, then it looks like you are not. I don't know. They look like there's something wrong with you.
I will not go by that one to say there's nothing much in it. There's something good in it. Just like there's something good in the vagina also. But then these are not the defining properties of humanity. These are not defining properties of humanity. That if a man cannot have a woman, he's not a complete man. Then they'll say, Bible says, when Adam saw Eve, they said yes. Now, no. Then when Eve saw Adam, and then yes, no. The issue is that whether a man is married or not, he's a man. Whether a woman is married or not, she's a woman. The point is that the realization of yourself must be within you before the attachment. If you do not realize your value before the attachment, when attachment comes, you will be treated as a secondary thing. So value yourself before a man comes in. In most cases, when a man comes to a woman who does not value herself, the woman becomes a servant to the man, and the respect goes away. That's where they maltreat the woman. In the same way, when a man is not of value, does not value himself, the woman comes to his life, and then the woman brings value to the man's life, the man becomes miserable. But when you stand on your own as a man, you stand on your own as a woman, and the other one comes, the person knows that you are yourself before he or she came, and that respect is maintained. That's the point I'm making. And that's the point Andrea Rich is also making. Even though at this point, women are not on the spotlight, in order for them to regain their voice, one thing is very important to her is that we need to know the writings of the past and know it differently than we have known it, not to pass on a tradition, but to break its hold over us. That's what Andrew Rich says. That you don't go back and then look at what your grandmother went through and then you also live like that. If your grandmother did not enjoy marriage, then you do not enjoy marriage, or your mother did not enjoy, and therefore, no, you have to break hold on that. There are certain things we can say academically, but I know those of you who are church goers will chew me up. So I will not even go there. The Pentecost people, you call your husband's Mura. Is that right? My Lord. So even when he's maltreating you, sir, my Lord. Can I teach?
Preach
Yes.
on.
Yes, preach,
Yes,
Prof.
teach. Teach in capital letters.
Yes, sir, Professor. You can go on.
Please, after the preach, there will be offer. There will be offertory online. So you send offertory through Momo.
Yeah, to my number.
Hey, no. All right, so let's go on. So, and then Rich encourages women to break out of their closed shells to do what they want rather than following what society tells them they must do. And I personally laugh at women who will come and sit in my class like this, and then when they go back, they allow female genital mutilation to go on. They allow widowhood right to go on. They allow all kinds of maltreatment to go on. Women sitting in this class. Rich believed that the anger felt by women throughout the ages was necessary for creativity and change to flourish. That women must at a point be angry enough to change things through writing, through presentations, through socializations, etc. The victimization and anger experienced by women are real, according to Rich, and have real sources everywhere in the environment, built into society, built into language, built into the structure of thought, prejudice. Oh, as for women, that's how the words we use on women. Rich speaks of a new generation of women poets, women writers, moving towards the new space on the boundaries of patriarchy. So when women are able to write, they will expose patriarchy and then they will create new spaces for themselves. So if you're a husband and your wife is an assertive woman, don't say she's a witch. She has found a new space. Encourage her to be good in that space. If you misbehave and she beats you, thank God that she's beating you. But me, if my wife beats me, I'll run away. I'll not stand up for her to beat me. Good. But our advice, you stay there. Let her beat you. Put the fear of God in you. Women, according to Rich, are speaking to and of women due to a newly unleashed courage to name, to love each other, to share risk and grief and celebration. This is what we may not accept. That women must always, you see, when women form groups, their groupings are mainly to celebrate their sorrows. So they see that a woman's husband has passed on. They will come and sit there and they'll be crying with her. And then, no, we are calling women to form groups, not to share in griefs, but to share in celebrations of good achievements. That the woman has written a good book. Let's clap for her. Yeah, she has succeeded in becoming a professor. Let's clap for her. Yeah, These are the things we expect women to do. So Rich ends the essay by stating that women have much to do as the creative energy of patriarchy is running out, leaving only its self-generating energy for destruction. Right. So she's also calling on women to appreciate the fact that yes, men are running out of energy. So women must rise up and do things for themselves. Good. This is what Andrea Rich has also said. Please and please again, look for the essays and read. They are tiny, tiny essays, and you understand them. Right. Any sensible question up to this point? Any sensible question? Right. If there are no questions, maybe we'll end here. I'll continue on Saturday. Please have said our last meeting will be on Saturday, 11:50, I guess. 11:50, we'll meet and then do it to finish. If you have any question, you can ask. Don't come and ask me, how would I answer this question? I'm not interested in that because the questions will be application questions. You need to apply. That's why I said read the essays, understand the essays. Reading just the slides will not be enough for you. I beg you. Good evening.
Good evening, Prof.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. Please, if anyone with the slides for today's lesson, please, you should give us a favor. Thank you very much.
Sami manya ugolo.
Hey, please, I am not an evil, so please, I can't speak an airway. If only you teach me, then I'll be happy for that. Thank you very much.
Then unless you marry or date an evil woman, Sammy. Maybe the
Oh,
alcohol and
bye.
the petri dating, the alcohol and the petri dating will do good.
Oh, but you can create a platform for you to teach me so that I'll be visiting the platform to learn an airway. Thank you very much.
Sammy, them low.
As for the thank you very much. That's the signature.
Eh, Madakuku say that
I
means
am quiet too. I am quiet too. I can't talk.
that Madakuku me for.
B, you are speaking now.
It just one that I can speak. Oh, it's just one. It's not anything. It's not everything that I can speak.
A lie. Sammy is a lie.
Is that Nana Ire? Nana Ire, are you there?
Not on the platform, please.
It is right now that I've heard your voice. Oh. Where were you?
I just joined, or you are close.
All right. For now, they've closed. Oh. I think they've closed.
And you didn't call to inform me.
Me too. I was not part of. I joined later, so I even thought you were on the platform already. So I did not call you. So I even thought you were there. Where were you before the class started?
It's me. You didn't learn. You didn't learn with us. For me, I started.
So please,
Sammy, goodbye.
I want to ask a question that in this course, do you have some books for us to be read for this course? Because when the man was speaking, he said, when he was teaching, he said, we have to read this book, you have to make reference to this book, but I don't even know. Is it part of the course that we have to read before that we read the exams, or that's for our own leisure time?
Is here to give you answer. Stella, help Sammy for me.
Please come again.
I don't know. I am in the same soup with you. I don't have any idea about that. Are you clear now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so goodbye.
Anyone who can answer this question should answer me with a quick manner. Thank you.
The Holy